Welcome everyone to LarsonLand on YouTube. I'm Sawyer Hill, the host of the LarsonLand Podcast. I'm here with Dylan Bradshaw today. Breaking NASCAR news. NASCAR comes out today and suspends Bubba Wallace from the next NASCAR Cup Series championship event at the Homestead Miami Speedway for his actions against Kyle Larson last week at Las Vegas. Dylan, we talked about this on our podcast yesterday. Didn't really expect to see this penalty coming. I kind of thought NASCAR was going to stick with a fine or some sort of points deal, but NASCAR really dropped the hammer. We wanted a three-race suspension. We wanted him out the rest of the season, but one race, I think NASCAR really met in the middle with, the different parties in this deal, and I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't expect them to kind of, like you said, throw the hammer at him, suspend him to three races like all of us really wanted. A lot of people wanted. Points not doesn't really matter. I mean, he's not really in contention for, owners championship, driver championship, anything. But I expected like $100,000 fine, something like that. But I mean, can't be mad at a one race suspension. Would have liked more, but can't really be mad at it.
Yeah, and I think now that I think we've kind of all had a couple days to sit on it and cool down. I mean, this seems like a pretty sufficient penalty for me, and I know if anybody read Bubba's apology, so-called tweet the other day, it he didn't specifically apologize to Kyle Larson and the five team for what happened, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But at least there was some sort of apology. He never really admitted to any intent in that apology, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think this suspension is definitely sufficient for his actions, and I think NASCAR really just wanted to set some sort of precedent here. We'll take a look now at a what some words from NASCAR COO Steve O'Donnell on the SiriusXM NASCAR radio just minutes after the penalty was announced. Steve said that our actions are really specific to what took place on the racetrack, referring to the right hook on Kyle Larson. Also, saying that they thought the acts were intentional and put other competitors at risk, and that it's an action that they don't want to see moving forward. Dylan, what do you think of these sentiments by Steve O'Donnell?
Yeah, I definitely think it was directed towards, intentionally wrecking him there, right hooking him. But he did say it's only for what happened on the track. Looking at it, he broke multiple violations. After the incident took place, walking on a live track, which we all know that's a big no-no unless your car is on fire after what happened with Tony Stewart at the dirt track years ago. Pushing a NASCAR official. But at the end of the day, this is what happened on the track, right? Hooking him. That's really the big thing that everyone's worried about. I don't think really anyone cares as much about the little shoving match that happened in the infield after the fact. That was just kind of, because he retaliated twice. This whole situation's more directed towards right hooking them on the track. So I do agree with that, but I mean rule wise, he did violate multiple rules, but it's kind of wishy-washy nowadays.
Yeah, one thing I do wish is that some of the NASCAR penalties, it seems like the way the penalty system is currently, it's always so much unknown about, like, okay, what justifies a one race suspension versus not being suspended versus $100,000 fine or a $25,000 fine. I think that, like, NASCAR could do a little bit of a better job with their rule book and saying, if this happens, this is grounds for, X, Y, and Z, and not so much leaving it up to interpretation, because I think that's where, obviously, if it's in the rule book, that's what they got to go off of. And when it's up for interpretation like this, you're gonna have different groups of fans, different opinions from the teams and drivers on what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's part of the reason why we've been seeing every single. I mean, it's not nothing new, but every single time there's a penalty in NASCAR, it goes straight. It gets appealed. It goes through the appeal process instantly. It's like, it's just it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, I mean, we have it just happened with Kyle Busch. We have a crew chief suspended for 4 races for a loose wheel, and two crew guys they're suspended as well for 4 weeks. But a guy is putting someone's life and career at risk while right hooking him at 160 mile per hour, and it's a one race suspension. So
Right.
the severity is way higher. Like I said, it's kind of wishy washy. They need to kind of, the precedent's set now with the one race suspension, but I mean, they just need to kind of get things in order as time goes on.
Yeah, and I understand parts of it for NASCAR, but like this is a big time situation. I think part of the reason NASCAR doesn't like to necessarily suspend drivers typically is because you have fans that come. I mean, NASCAR only goes to Homestead one time this year, and there could be Bubba Wallace fans that are in that area that's their only chance they get all year to go see him race, and they want to they've saved up, they've bought tickets, whatever, and then now all of a sudden Bubba's not racing there this weekend because of the incident. I think NASCAR has historically wanted to avoid that type of situation, but look, when your guy does something that he shouldn't do, that's the consequences of it. And we'll kind of look now at a tweet from Freddie Kraft, one of the spotters on Door Bumper Clear of Dirty Mo Media. This is actually Bubba Wallace's spotter. He came on Twitter shortly after the penalty was announced, Dylan, and said unprecedented. And to me, I think yes, this is something that's unprecedented. I mean, we have seen suspensions for drivers taking action under the green flag in the past, but as far as being unprecedented, I'm fine with it being unprecedented because, like we said on Monday or on Sunday, there is a safety issue in NASCAR, and the drivers know it. And if it's unprecedented because look, these drivers need to be smarter right now. They need to take care of each other, and I think that's part of the deal with NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I've seen so far on social media that have been unhappy with the ruling. They're comparing things that happened even this year with Noah Gragson at Road America causing that pile up. Ty Gibbs on pit road when he pushed Ty Dillon, potentially, or he could have hurt that NASCAR official. I feel like they're very different scenarios. I mean, this is a retaliation that, I mean, it could have really hurt Kyle Larson. I mean, luckily Bell was there. This could have ended way worse, like we talked about in depth in another podcast. It could have been way worse, but thankfully it wasn't. But I don't really see how it's comparable to past events. I mentioned Matt Kenseth in 2015 with Logano. They're not going 160, 170 mile
Right.
per hour at a speedway, a mile and a half track, and the danger scale is just completely different there. So I don't see how it's comparable. And then even going further back, I mean, there's different people with NASCAR now. There's different people in the head office. So I feel like things are going to be a little different there. You can't completely go off the past because things have changed a lot. So, I mean, just that's what we get.
Absolutely, it's definitely some big news today. So, last question, Dylan, before we hop off of here, do you think that 2311 Racing is going to appeal this penalty? I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a bad look for them to appeal at this point, but just because there was nothing that went along with the penalty, it was just a one race suspension, and there's no driver points deducted, there's no owner points, there's no fine. So do you think that 2311 will appeal this potentially, or do you think they'll just let Bubba sit out this week, have somebody else fill in that 45 car?
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a bad look for 2311 if they appeal. We mentioned on the podcast, Hamlin, he's one of the big advocates for safety. And I feel like, I mean, as an owner, I mean, if you're appealing something like this, you're kind of promoting, these bad habits and safety concerns. So I think it would be a bad look for 2311. I don't think they will. Everyone's appealed the penalties this year, and for the most part, I mean, they've pretty much worked. I mean, look at Byron; it got him back in the playoffs. But I don't think they'll appeal it. Gibbs will be in the 23. I think they'll bring up Nemechek for the 45, and they'll just ride this one out and have him sit.
Absolutely. So, one last thing before we head out, I just want to say on the record for everybody watching this, the Kyle Larson fan base. I know a lot of people have been watching our videos. We really appreciate all the support. That last podcast from the weekend really blew up, tons of views. So, make sure if you're watching this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. We have podcasts that come out every single week talking about all things Kyle Larson, from Kyle Larson's NASCAR side of things to every single dirt race that Kyle Larson runs and everything in between. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and we will see you in the next video.